Hello, I am the kid's whisperer, the magical voice to help you relax and sleep. It's bedtime. Lie down in your bed and snuggle your toy. Be cozy and start relaxing. Gently close your eyes and take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders, arms, back, and your tiny toes. I'm taking you to an imaginary journey to a quiet place. You're going into the woods. The trees are tall and green, and the moonlight filters through the leaves, making pretty patterns on the ground. As you walk, you can feel the soft grass beneath your feet and hear the gentle rustle of the leaves in the breeze. Look around you. There are so many wonderful things. The colorful flowers, the pretty butterflies, the beautiful birds. Listen carefully. You might hear the chirping of birds up in the tree. They're singing a beautiful song for you. And if you're very quiet, you might hear the little animals like squirrels and rabbits playing among the trees. As you walk deeper into the forest, you see a small pond with a lot of rocks around it. Go sit on a rock. Take a deep breath. Let's listen to the story. Once upon a time, in a peaceful and quiet pond, surrounded by tall whispering reeds and blooming flowers, lived a mother duck. She had a warm nest hidden among the grasses, and inside that nest were her precious eggs. Each day, the mother duck watched over them, her heart filled with excitement and anticipation. She was waiting for her little ducklings to come into this world. She knew that soon her little ones would hatch and she would finally meet her babies. The day finally came when the eggs started to crack. One by one, the shells broke open and out came tiny ducklings. They were covered in soft, fluffy feathers. The mother duck quacked happily as she welcomed each of her children into the world. However, as she looked at that last egg, she noticed that it was different from the rest. It was larger, and the shell had a strange pale color. When the last egg cracked open, a little duckling emerged, but something was different about him. He was not as fluffy or as yellow as his siblings. Instead, he had grayish, downy feathers and looked a bit awkward. The mother duck gazed at him with curiosity and concern, but her heart was full of love for all her babies. "My dear little duckling," she said gently, "you may not look like your brothers and sisters, but you are just as special. I will love you just the same." And so the mother duck took her brood to the water for their first swim. The other ducklings paddled around happily, and their bright yellow feathers shining in the sunlight. But the little grey duckling struggled to keep up. His legs felt too big for his small body, and he wobbled as he tried to swim. The other ducklings noticed how different he looked and moved, and soon they began to tease him. "Look at him," one duckling quacked. "He's so clumsy." "And his feathers are so dull," said another. "He doesn't look like one of us at all." The little grey duckling hung his head and felt a heavy sadness in his heart. He tried to play with his brothers and sisters, but they always left him out of their games. Every day, the teasing grew worse. The other ducklings would quack at him, making fun of his grey feathers and clumsy way of walking. Even the animals around the pond began to notice him. The frogs croaked and chuckled. The fish darted away when he came near, and even the dragonflies seemed to avoid him. The mother duck did her best to comfort her little one, but the duckling felt more alone with each passing day. He wished so badly that he could be like the others, bright, fluffy, and loved. He started to believe that maybe the pond was not the right place for him. Maybe somewhere out there he would find a place where he belonged, where others would accept him for who he was. One morning, when the sun was still pink with the first light of dawn, the little grey duckling made a decision. He couldn't bear the teasing any longer. He would leave the pond and go out into the wide world to find a place where he could be happy. With a heavy heart, he said goodbye to the only home he had ever known. The tall reeds whispered as he waddled past, and the water rippled gently behind him. He took one last look at the pond and then turned to walk away, not knowing where his journey would take him. The little duckling wandered through the fields and meadows, across streams and through woods. Everywhere he went, he met new animals. But each time they would look at him with curiosity, sometimes with pity, and sometimes with laughter. "You don't look like any duckling I've ever seen," said a rabbit as it hopped by. "Why are you so grey?" asked a bluebird, tickling its head. "You're not like the other ducks," a squirrel chattered from the branch of a tree. The little duckling felt his heart sink further with each question. No matter where he went, he was always different, always the odd one out. He missed his family, even though they had teased him, and he wondered if he would ever find a place where he could be happy. As the seasons changed, the days grew shorter and the air became crisp and cool. The leaves on the trees turned bright shades of red, orange, and yellow. They were falling to the ground in a colorful carpet. The little duckling knew that winter was coming and he needed to find a safe place to stay. One chilly evening, as he wandered through a forest, the duckling came across a little cottage with a warm, glowing light in the window. He was tired, hungry, and cold, so he decided to take a chance and go up to the cottage. Perhaps the people inside would be kind enough to give him some food and a place to rest. The door of the cottage creaked open and an old woman peered out. She saw the little grey duckling shivering on her doorstep and felt a pang of sympathy. "Oh, you poor little thing," she said kindly. "Come inside and I will take care of you." The old woman took the duckling in and placed him by the warm fire. She gave him food and water and even made a little bed for him in a cozy corner of the kitchen. The duckling was grateful for the warmth and kindness, and for the first time in a long while he felt a glimmer of hope. But even in the safety of the cottage, the duckling's troubles were not over. The old woman had a cat and a hen who also lived in the house. The cat had sharp claws and a sly grin, and the hen was proud and bossy. Neither of them liked the newcomer. "Why are you here?" the hen clucked. "You're not a cat or a hen. You don't belong in this house." The cat curled its tail around its paws and narrowed its eyes. "You're not even a pretty duck. What are you doing here?" The little duckling tried to ignore their harsh words, but they stung just as much as the teasing from his siblings. He felt more and more like he didn't belong anywhere. After a few days, he realized that he couldn't stay in the cottage. Even though the old woman was kind, the other animals made him feel unwelcome. So one morning, before the sun had fully risen, the little duckling quietly left the cottage and continued on his journey. He wandered through the forest, feeling more alone than ever. Winter arrived, bringing cold winds and snow. The little duckling struggled to find food and shelter. He hid in the reeds by a frozen lake, his feathers ruffled by the wind and his body shivering from the cold. The days were harsh and the nights were even colder. The little duckling wondered if he would ever find a place where he could be warm and safe. As the snow began to melt and the days grew longer, spring returned to the land. The little duckling, who had barely survived the winter, was weak and tired. But sometimes the air felt different. There was a promise of new beginnings of hope, with new flowers and leaves springing around him. One day, as he was resting by the edge of a sparkling lake, the little duckling noticed a group of large, graceful birds gliding across the water. Their feathers were put white and their wings shone in the sunlight. They were the most beautiful creatures he had ever seen. The little duckling watched in awe as the swans moved gracefully over the water. He had never seen anything so lovely. A deep longing filled his heart. He wished he could be like them, so elegant and admired. Summoning all his courage, the little duckling swam out to the middle of the lake. He was nervous, remembering how the other animals had treated him before, and he feared that the swans would reject him too. But to his surprise, the swans did not chase him away. Instead, they looked at him with kind and gentle eyes. One of the swans swam closer and spoke to him. "Hello, little one," the swan said in a soft, welcoming voice. "You look lost. Would you like to join us?" The little duckling hesitated. He had never been welcomed so warmly before, but he couldn't help but feel that something was different this time. "I'm not beautiful like you," the duckling said sadly. "I'm just an ugly duckling." The swan smiled kindly. "You may think that now, but beauty is not about how you look. It's about being kind, brave, and true to yourself. Come, let's be friends." With a heart full of hope, the little duckling joined the swans. For the first time, he felt like he belonged. The swans didn't care about his grey feathers or his clumsy walk. They accepted him just as he was. As the days passed, the little duckling began to feel happier and more at home. He swam with the swans, played in the water, and enjoyed the warmth of the sun. He no longer felt lonely or sad. The swans had become his new family, and he loved them dearly. One morning, as the duckling looked at his reflection in the lake, he was startled by what he saw. The grey, awkward feathers had disappeared, replaced by soft, white plumage. His body had grown strong and graceful, and he realized with amazement that he was no longer a duckling at all. He had become a beautiful swan, and that's the end of the story. Let's take a deep breath. It's time to be thankful. Dear God, thank you for the beauty I hold and carry all the time. Thank you for the beautiful family who accepts me the way I am, no matter who I am and how I look. Thank you for the beautiful day. Thank you for the rest you're gonna give me. Thank you for everything. Amen. Relax. Take another deep breath. May you have good night rest and sweet dreams.